Because when I was a young adult, I judged quarter horse shows. So that was as political as a campaign. But other than that, no, I have never served as a judge in a judicial capacity. I try to settle my cases, so I feel in a way I try to look at both sides and I try to form a resolution to a case, and I think as a judge that's the same thing you need to do. You need to look at the cases, look at the evidence, and sometimes the judge has to fashion a remedy, particularly if you've got a probate case. I've never been a judge. I encourage people to mediate. I believe it's very important. I often have attorneys call and ask me probate questions because I have taught a lot of probate classes. I've presented a lot of probate seminars. And I think I know more probate than any lawyer in Ozark other than maybe Moore. And I think he's retiring.
Thank you. Now we'll start with Mr. Bacon. What is the single biggest mistake you as a lawyer have made in a courtroom, and what did you learn from it?
Biggest mistake. Well, nothing jumps to mind, but the thing that's most important when you go to court is to be prepared. So anytime when there may have been an area where I was less than prepared, that invariably jumps up and bites you. So now anytime I go to court, I try to be prepared. I try to know what law I'm going to need to have at my fingertips. I need to know what questions I'm going to have to ask any witnesses. And as a judge, the same thing's going to apply. Now, you're not going to be able to prejudge the facts. You got to wait and you got to hear those, but you got to know what to listen for. You got to be prepared with the law that's going to be relevant to the situation, and preparation is very important in any aspect, but definitely in a court of law. So that would probably be it.
Mr. Cleek, same question to you. What is the single biggest mistake you made in the courtroom, and what did you learn from it?
Like everyone else will probably say, I try to avoid mistakes, but unfortunately you make those from time to time. One particular would be not being prepared. I agree with Doug on that aspect. You need to be prepared when you walk through that courtroom, and you need to know what you're going to try to prove. You need to understand what you need to prove. I'm one of the only ones in Southwest Missouri that was a prosecutor or attorney where I got not one but two different murder one convictions here in Christian County. I have one guy on death row. I know what it takes to be a judge. You have to prepare, you have to understand, and you've got to be patient, and you've got to show respect. I told you that probably my most single biggest mistake was at some point not being completely prepared. The other is being disrespectful. You need to show the people you deal with respect.
Ms. Schilling, what is the biggest single mistake you made in the courtroom, and what did you learn from it?
Well, we've all made mistakes in the courtroom. If we say we haven't, we're not human. Every time we go to court, we don't know what is coming at us. We can be as prepared as we can possibly be, and something's coming in, and you've got to be thinking on your feet. I suppose I have made evidentiary mistakes before. I haven't gotten evidence in that I intended to get in. I've not objected when I should have objected. I have agreed to allow evidence to come in, and I regretted it horribly later. So we all make those mistakes, but I think being prepared is very important, and I would say that I think one of the things I regret the most is, as an assistant prosecutor, I was once trying a preliminary hearing, and I really didn't get the evidence in to prove that a little girl had been molested, and the defendant was not bound over. He was released, and he reoffended and showed up again 6 months later.
Mr. Bacon, guilty verdicts can get undone on appeal, often by mistakes made by a judge. What specialized experience do you have that gives you the technical ability to keep your mistakes to a minimum?
Well, certainly, mistakes as far as the court goes, that goes with courtroom experience. I've been to court a lot, I've sat through lots of trials, watched many judges in action. Also, there are rules that judges have to follow, and that goes back to preparation. Anytime you're preparing to make a ruling, you need to make sure you're familiar with the rules as to how that ruling needs to be laid down, as to how announcements you need to make, records you need to make for the court. There are many requirements, many ways that almost every aspect of a trial can be appealed. And no judge is going to be perfect as far as having no one. People are going to file appeals, but there are steps you can take to limit that and make sure that you do all the things that are statutorily required, and that's what I intend to do.
Mr. Klee, guilty verdicts can be undone on appeal, sometimes because of mistakes made by judges. What specialized experience do you have that gives you the technical ability to keep your mistakes to a minimum?
Yeah, I haven't said anything yet, so don't start that. Folks, that's the good part about me over the other two. I have done 200 or so jury trials. I have put people on death row. I have tried cases involving children. I have put many people in prison for the rest of their lives because of my abilities and what I've done. I remember one time, for example, I got a conviction, and the judge, in his order when he granted a motion for new trial, said there was only one reason why the defendant was found guilty, and that was the talent of the prosecutor, and that was me. And I will explain to you that if you've had the trial experience, not just going to court for a divorce or just probate. I've done probate, I've done all kinds of other estate planning, but I got the trial experience already.
Ms. Schilling, guilty verdicts can be undone on appeal, often because of mistakes made by judges. What specialized experience do you have that gives you the ability to keep your mistakes to a minimum?
Well, I have experience in reviewing the law. If you know the statutes, and you know the rules, and you know the burden of proof, and you know what you have to find to have a conviction, if you are careful and you make sure that there is evidence sufficient to base the finding of fact upon, then you will establish all of the facts, the elements of the crime that are necessary for the conviction. As long as you can establish and the evidence will show that all of those elements are met, the conviction will stand if you haven't made a mistake on allowing evidence in, if you haven't made a mistake in allowing people to run a buck in their opening or closing statements. You should err on the side of caution. I have always done that in my practice. I've never suggested people, oh, go ahead and go for it. No, let's back up, let's be cautious, let's make sure that we have it right. And that's what you need to do to stand up on appeal. Thank you.
Mr. Bacon, we've heard discussion from every candidate. They have experience trying criminal cases. Could you discuss the level of your experience in dealing with probate cases?
Certainly. I handle wills. I also do guardianships, which is something that the probate judge does here. Also, I've been involved in estates, and there are hearings involved with the guardianship. There are hearings involved with estates. Those are the main areas that I've handled having to do with probate. Guardianships sometimes are very much like juvenile cases in a way, similar to an adoption, only it's not on a permanent basis. So I've also handled adoptions, which are actually part of juvenile, but they're similar. And so I feel qualified to handle those types of cases.
Mr. Cleet, the same question. Can you describe your experience handling probate cases?
Well, after I started practicing law down here in Christian County, which I have been down here and practicing almost exclusively in Christian County, although I do go to Greene County only when you make me. But probate, I have done wills, I've done estates, I've worked with many attorneys on taking care of those estates. I've worked on probate cases in front of the judge. And what you find is that the biggest mistakes you can make is going to be in that will. So when you're doing probate, you try to work with the best people around. Alan Rose, for example, is a very good probate person. But if you saw it, his hair is halfway down his neck and halfway down his back, and then his beard's way down here to the front. I have the probate experience. I know what needs to be done, and I can deal with it. I can deal with all the cases that Judge Waters deals with every day.
Ms. Schilling, the same question to you. What is your experience in dealing with probate cases?
I deal with probate on a daily basis. I have taught probate. I've done seminars on probate. When you have a probate case, a decedent's estate come in, what you have to figure out is what is the quickest and cheapest way I can get this done? Because the people are in a hurry. If you have a small estate, it can be done quickly. If you have a surviving spouse, can do a refusal of letters to a surviving spouse or minor children, you can do it quickly. If not, if you've got a big estate, you're going to have to probate it. If you've got a will, it's a testate. If you've no will, intestate. If you're more than 1 year past date of death, you're a determination of heirship. You've got to know that claims are barred at a certain point. You have to know that the attorneys are going to be filing petition for attorney fees. This past year, I have had 2 big attorneys from Springfield's fees cut in half, because I don't think it's fair that they take advantage of people when they could have taken care of an estate in a quick, inexpensive manner. Thank you.
Ms. Schilling, don't set the microphone down. You're up next. Christian County ranks high on the list of short-staffed courthouses in the state of Missouri. How will you handle the heavy docket, and can you explain the docketing process to our audience?
And when you say short on courthouses, you mean we need more courtrooms? Is that what you?
Short on judges.
Short on judges, okay. Well, we are currently short on judges. There's no doubt about that with the passing of Marcor. But before that, we had the circuit judge, and then we had the 2 associate circuit judges. I think the important thing is to move cases. Judge Waters has been doing the criminal cases and the probate cases. Judge Loon has been doing the family law, juvenile law, small claims, and associate circuit civil. I think the main thing is you've got to keep the courtrooms moving. I think you may have to start at 8:30, and you're going to have to work. I know that the judges have worked really hard to try to keep everything moving. I think you need to, make decisions as quickly as you can to move cases along so that more can come in. You need to set hearings as quickly as you can. I know that, the criminal cases, there may be 250 guys sitting in the courtroom on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Probate cases, I'd probably back some up. I know that Judge Waters has been doing that. Thank you.
Mr. Bacon, a question to you. How will you handle the heavy docket, and can you explain the docketing process to our audience?
Well, first of all, I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm going to work long hours. I'm going to work hard as it takes to move all the cases that we have. Certainly, it would be nice if they would add judges, but that may not happen right away. As far as ways to make it more efficient, I'm always open to that. It would be presumptuous of me to sit here and say, well, I'd do this differently, when Judge Orr and Judge Waters and Judge Luna, 3 men that I respect greatly, have had the system set up the way it is. And any system can be improved, and I'm certainly going to be open to that, but it's not going to be something that I do on a tangent. I think that needs to be a joint decision among all the members of the bench and perhaps the commission, other office holders that have interests in the court, certainly we're going to be open to making it run efficiently as possible.
Mr. Cleek, same question. How will you handle the heavy docket, and can you explain the docketing process?
Yes, I can explain the docketing process. It's one where you have to get everything down in that computer, and we're to the point that computer and paperless is already set up in this county. How do I handle heavy dockets? The same way I did as a prosecutor. I saw Amy back there somewhere. She knows what it takes to sit there and be there at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night on a Friday evening when you've got plans to go somewhere and do something. You handle the heavy docket by organization and by the use of the computers that you've got handy. J. Miles Sweeney was a judge in Greene County for a long period of time. J. Miles Sweeney was making docket entries in the computer as soon as he had the opportunity. Judge Luna puts docket entries. Judge Waters takes the time to make sure that everything is done while in the courtroom. Organization, and that's what we've been doing.
Mr. Bacon? Oh, you already answered. Yeah, that's fine. I apologize. How often in your present practice, and this would go to Mr. Cleek, in a given month, do you regularly go to court at Christian County?
How many times could you read it?
In a given month, how often are you at the Christian County Courthouse doing business in Christian County?
At least 3 days a week. I'm in courtroom. Today I spent an entire day working on a divorce case. I'm always in court. Before, when I was prosecutor, I was in court every day. I know what it takes to take care of the courtroom. I know what it takes to get things accomplished in the courtroom. Organization is always the key. But if you're asking me how many times how much I go on an average basis, 3 to 5 times a week. I spend my time in the courtroom. As a prosecutor, I spent every day in the courtroom. I know the system. I know how to make it work. I know what we can do to keep it better.
Now, Mr. Bacon, new question for you. Same question, but in a given month, how often do you regularly go to court in Christian County?
Well, that depends on the month, I suppose. I handle cases all over Southwest Missouri, so I handle cases in Greene County, I handle cases in Christian County, Stone County, Taney County, and that's a cyclical thing. So some months I might be here a couple of times a week. Other months I might not be here in Christian County at all. It just depends on what cases I have set that month, so it's hard to say a given month. I used to be a part-time prosecutor here in Christian County, and back when I was a part-time prosecutor here, I appeared every day. But now in private practice, you just kind of have to take whatever comes in the door, and I have handled several down here in Christian County, both in family law and criminal, and so I am very well familiar with the courts here in Christian County and believe I'm qualified to be your next judge.
Ms. Schilling, how often in a given month do you regularly go to court in Christian County?
Well, in a given month, in the last few years, I don't get there as often as I used to. I have not been doing divorces, so I have not had any reason to be over for divorce court. My last divorce case I tried in front of Judge Luna shortly after he took the bench, and it was a sophisticated business divorce. I do regularly get to Judge Waters' courtroom on Mondays particularly for probate day, and on Fridays for probate day often. I'm sometimes over there on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is criminal day, but not very often. An associate in my office does all of our traffic and criminal work. I don't do much juvenile work anymore. Randall again is doing that. I did fill in for him the other day. Randall has been doing my prosecuting work at the City of Clever, which I have actually done since 1992, but he's been handling that for me for the past 3